Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Thursday night Smackdown review. And you know what, guys, when I really mull over this Smackdown, I think the word that really comes to my mind is solid, because there was some really good stuff on this show, but, I mean, it also had some segments that I'm tired of seeing. I also had a main event that, you know, while fun, I felt like was completely underwhelming, given that we have Roadblock this Saturday. But it wasn't an atrocious show by any means. I'd still say that the way SmackDown has been lately, I prefer it to most episodes of Monday Night Raw. It's just a shame that this, past episode was so good. And this SmackDown, I felt like, really didn't bring it as much as it could have, potentially, for me. But still, a solid show. Ashton, what did you think of this SmackDown, man?
Yeah, I mean, this was a decent show. I think you have a point when you say that there was some really good stuff, and I think the word that you were looking for that you never really got around to was filler. There was a lot of filler on this show.
That's an excellent word. Yeah, filler.
Yeah, and it really did. It felt like you take, it felt like if you would take an average episode of Raw and you take the best 45 minutes and the worst 45 minutes and combine them into one, hour and a half chunk and then toss commercials in there to fill it out to 2 hours, that's what we got tonight.
Right. So, with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I really don't have any heats of the night tonight. I don't have any nitpicks. Again, that's not to say that this show is free from criticism from me. It's just that I don't really think anything is such a huge deal as to afford it this space, in this segment. So I'm all clear for the night. Ashton, what about you?
Same here. Yeah, I mean, it was a thing with SmackDown. It's hard to complain about filler when it's SmackDown. You have to come to expect filler at this point because they in general, SmackDown isn't going to advance any storylines, and if they do, it won't be something that isn't covered on Raw. Like even just tonight, Chris Jericho cut a really good promo. I'm assuming he'll probably cut the exact same promo on Monday.
Yeah, that is the frustrating thing, because I'd love to see certain things be SmackDown exclusives. I almost feel like Kevin Owens as a talent has almost become SmackDown exclusive, but he was on Raw.
Now that I think about it, I wouldn't call it a full-blown hit of the night, but my one nitpick is we're back to 50-50 booking, but this time in the Divas division with Brie Bella getting the win over Summer Rae tonight.
Yeah, I even mentioned the 50-50 booking in my notes because we just did the big commentary, and that was one of the things on our top 10 list that WWE should, kind of fix, which you guys could still see that on the channel if you haven't already. So yeah, I guess with that said, let's get to the fun stuff. This is our Thursday night SmackDown review, and we open up with Miz TV with guests Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And Ashton, I gotta tell you, this to me was a fun segment. I think this set a great tone for the show. I will give it that credit. I liked how Sami Zayn caught everyone up to speed on the issues between himself and Kevin Owens. Now, he more or less said the same stuff that, he said in NXT about the feud, but I think it's a great refresher anyway, because when you're dealing with SmackDown, you're potentially dealing with people that don't watch NXT or are just more casual in terms of their relationship with the product. So I think it works. Kevin Owens came out and he said, Sammy, you can say all this stuff about how you arrived before I did and you did all this stuff before I did, and that's why I attacked you, but I already explained to you, it wasn't personal, it wasn't personally motivated. I did it because it was best for business. It was best for me and my family. And he said, you may have arrived here before me, but then you got hurt. I appeared on Raw before you did. I beat John Cena. I did all this stuff. But you eliminating me at the Royal Rumble and what you did to me this past Monday, that was personal. And quite frankly, Sammy, I'm the victim, which, as a side note, I completely agree with Kevin Owens. He is the victim, but we may touch on that more in a few seconds.
Of course. I even said, I love to, he said, I'm the victim, and immediately I'm just thinking, oh my God, that sounds exactly like something John would say Kevin Owens is John's spirit animal right now.
Well, it just makes all the sense in the world given how I passionately defend the man week to week. But he's right. He is absolutely the victim. Sammy had no business, first of all, in that Royal Rumble match. And second of all, this past Monday, he had no business in Kevin Owens' match. I mean, I know it was already over, but still, I mean, Kevin Owens was going to impart a lesson to Neville. And Sami Zayn just feels like he could just stick his nose in that business. You kidding me? And Kevin Owens, again, rightly points out, it's amazing how accurate this promo was on the part of Kevin Owens. That, this is the Kevin Owens show, and here Sami Zayn is nothing. And Sami Zayn, retorts that he is going to, beat Kevin Owens. He's going to take that Intercontinental Championship from him, and he's going to do it at WrestleMania. Kevin Owens retorts that if you think you deserve to be anywhere near my Intercontinental Championship, you're delusional. I'm done here. Mic drop, and he was gonna walk to the back, probably to have a phone call with his son. When Neville's music hits, he interrupts, and he's saying, well, Kevin, we don't have our settled yet.
I mean, I know you're not going to try and do an impression of Neville, and I wouldn't expect you to, but Neville's promo here was fire. He did such a good job here.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I like the energy he brought. And see, that's where I'm kind of in conflict, Ashton, being serious here for a second, because I know I've been all pro Kevin Owens. I think we've all really been anticipating that WrestleMania was just going to be Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, and now it's starting to look like it'll be a multi-man match.
And see, though, if I complain about it, though, it also kind of makes me a hypocrite because I've been begging for Neville to have something to do, and this is giving him something to do for the Intercontinental title. It's
right,
just
but when Neville is caught up in a match that also involves, like, The Miz,
Exactly.
It's hard to stand out when you're in the middle of 5 other guys.
Exactly, and my thing was, and I think everybody understands that I meant this, we can all agree that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have enough history between them to warrant a WrestleMania program. I mean, again, 13 years.
Honestly, I think that what they might be doing is they'll do the multi-man match, and then I think they might just save Owens versus Zayn singles for either SummerSlam or Mania 33. I think the WWE might just be kind of holding off because Sammy just showed up. They might not want to put him in a big-time singles WrestleMania match this soon into his main roster run.
I mean, Ashton, I'm going to be honest with you, bro, and granted, my mind's kind of racing, as it often does on TWitWoW when you and I really get into a discussion. I think this is going to be one of just the summer programs for the WWE. I could see both Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in Money in the Bank this year, and maybe those two being involved in that decision. I could really see these guys going back and forth for different prizes and for different motivations just over the course of the summer. I mean, I just see it potentially being that feud. Because if you're going to start this off in a multi-man matchup, WWE knows what they have in Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And I completely agree with you. I think this is going to be one of the big marquee matches at SummerSlam. I mean, that's just my view. I am happy for Neville that he's in the mix, but I do agree with you. Multi-man match kind of get lost in the shuffle. And my thing always was, I thought Neville and Kevin Owens could have carried a program by themselves. But I did enjoy Neville's promo here. You're absolutely right. It was fire. I loved how he ended with, and that Intercontinental Championship would look mighty fine around my waist. So he's laying down the challenge too. And then I love this, though, because I know I've been kind of hard on Sammy lately, both sincerely and just me being part of KO Mania. He puts Miz in his place, because Miz suddenly pipes up, and he's like, well, wait a minute, this is my show, and Neville, you're not an invited guest, and who are you two to be like you deserve a shot at the Intercontinental title? I'm a 5-time Intercontinental champion, and I main evented WrestleMania, and Sammy, you could almost see, like, he took that breath, like, this bitch.
It's that moment in time when somebody says something where they think they're cool, and you realize you have the exact perfect ammunition to just completely destroy their lives.
Exactly. And that's exactly what he did, because Sammy turns around and he says, Miz, you're right. This is Miz TV, but as far as I'm concerned, this doesn't concern you. Oh, and by the way, your days of main eventing WrestleMania are far, 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 far behind you. And the look on Miz's face, like
he's really good at emoting.
It's like, well,
it's almost like he's also an actor or something, as terrible as his movies are.
Exactly. Like, just how he emoted it. Said, well, Maurice, I won't be joining you in the jacuzzi, but the toaster's looking mighty fine right about now because it's like my
Well,
life.
Maurice, I think you're going to have to use your toys to get yourself off tonight because I just became soft for a week.
Exactly. Like, you could actually time the exact moment that Miz just knew that the past few years, several years of his career have been a complete and utter failure. And then when Sammy turns his back to Miz and he just keeps talking trash to Owens, like, come on, let's do this. Miz tries to tag him from behind. Sammy obviously gets the upper hand and he sends Miz out to the floor. This was a really fun segment. I enjoyed it. Once again, Miz TV does it right because Miz gets his little bit of stuff in, but it's always towards the end after the program at hand. This case, Kevin.
I mean, dude, the last time I remember us having a Miz TV, well, actually, I know we've had some in between, but the last really awesome moment on Miz TV was his one-on-one sit-down interview with AJ Styles, where AJ said basically nothing, and the Miz went on like a 5-minute monologue that got the crowd so incredibly hot that this completely dead crowd, when AJ finally snapped and attacked Miz, came alive for it. You know, Miz is one of those guys who I've never been a big fan of because I actually used to watch, you know, the Real World and the Real World Road Rules challenges and stuff, and he was on those, and I hated him even back then. And then he shows up in my wrestling and ruins my day then. But yeah, I've grown to really respect him as a worker, as a talker, because he's one of the few heels these days in WWE that does not care about looking cool at all, and his only concern is getting that heat so that when a babyface does something to him, it gets them the biggest positive reaction possible.
I completely agree with you. I think that's a great punctuation as far as Miz goes for the segment, seeing as how he was the one taken out. Do you have anything you want to say about Miz TV on the whole before we move on?
No, this just leads into a match, though. We have Neville and Sami Zayn taking on The Miz and Kevin Owens, which, I mean, really, it just ended up being Neville and Sami Zayn versus The Miz because Kevin Owens does not have time for this shit.
He really doesn't. Dude, I had so much fun with this match because, first of all, the baby faces, that being Neville and Sami Zayn, some great double teamwork despite being a makeshift team. I mean, that corkscrew assisted moonsault, though.
You know, guys,
I don't
know if anybody else remembers this. I'm sure some people do, but this is not the first time Sami Zayn and Neville have teamed up on an episode of main roster television.
Oh, didn't they also team up during the hype for NXT TakeOver? What was it? Rival? No, not Rival.
Fatal 4-Way.
Fatal 4-Way, that's right.
Yep, they teamed up to take on Tyson Kidd and Tyler Breeze.
That's right. Yeah, so like what? This is the only second time then that they've teamed together
on the main roster, at least. I'm sure.
On the main roster.
They've interacted a lot more on NXT.
But yeah, that assisted corkscrew moonsault spot was great. Kevin Owens, though, I'm sorry, like, clearly this guy is one of my favorites just all around right now, without me just explicitly saying it. I feel like I have to you, at least in conversation, and maybe even on this podcast, because yeah, his trash talk on the apron was excellent. Asking Miz multiple times when he lost control, what are you doing? What are you doing? And there was one point he had a pin, and it was like 2.5, and Kevin Owens was like, that was 3! That was just like always taking umbrage. And I said it was great that Walk Owens Walk, came out in this match towards the end because Sammy's just inviting him to come in. And Kevin is looking at the situation and he's like, I'm going to nope the shit out of this. And he takes his belt and he walks off. Dude, Kevin Owens' heel work is so good. Like, I agree with you.
Honestly, he's barely even a heel. At this point, he's just a full-time troll.
But it's so good, though. Like, yeah. I love it. And then you're right. Miz left all by himself. And I will say one thing that this match did very intelligently, in my opinion. And I'm going to quote my notes here. I thought it was quite smart to have Sami Zayn be the focal point in the match in its closing moments. Fans may be less familiar with him than they are with Neville because, one, Sammy has been primarily an NXT guy, and two, he has been dealing with an injury up until now. So he got some of his best stuff in this match, and that really reestablishes him. So I'm really glad he was the focus in the closing moments of the matchup. And I did also say that this match seemed to reinforce the notion that the IC title match at Mania will be a multi-man match, which we've already discussed in the opener, so I have really nothing else to say there. But yeah, this is a fun tag team match, dude.
Yeah, I love the attitude that Sammy was pulling after he nailed Miz. And kind of Miz kind of rolled back into the corner with Kevin Owens, and he's just had this great attitude where he was like, "Come on, Kevin, now's the time. Tag yourself in. Let's go. We're gonna do this." And then Owens, like, he even stands up on the bottom rope to try and reach over and tag Miz, and he goes from there to just, "Nope, I'm not doing this." And then he gets down off the apron and bails.
I mean, he has every right to do so. It's bad enough that he's the victim in this whole situation, but now they expect him to compete when he had no design to compete in the first place. The injustices against Kevin Owens I find to be utterly repugnant, but that's
And
just
dude,
me.
what you're doing right now, where you're kind of turning it up to 11 and pulling off the kayfabe, I feel like Kevin Owens does exactly that, and that's why he is able to be such an effective troll.
I know, right? I love him so much. I'm telling you, man, he could do so much more than Intercontinental. I'm really hoping for big things for him this summer. Like, that's the only reason I gotta say, talents like Kevin Owens are why I get jazzed up about Money in the Bank every year. Because I always think, can a talent like that carry around that briefcase? But, so yeah, I can't wait for Money in the Bank should be in, I think, July. So I'm really already looking forward.
June, but it's
Oh, yeah, I was thinking June, but yeah. Regardless, yeah, this summer's gonna be so much fun for TWitWoW. We got so much stuff planned anyway, but I'm getting ahead of myself because it's still only March, people. Gotta keep pace here. But yeah, up next, Golden Truth. Again, I'm just gonna quote my notes, and they're gonna serve as my review because it's only 2 lines. My God, these have become so stupid. I'd type more, but I am dead set on creating an imprint of my face against the wall. Please stop the pain. That's my review. What did you think of this Golden Truth segment, Ashton?
It sounds to me like Golden Truth segments are to you what NXT Season 3 was to Michael Cole.
I know. It's so bad, people. It's so bad. And it's
He
not even
literally
bad.
held up a sign at one point that said, "Please stop the pain."
I did not know that because I mean my memory of NXT season 3 is a little fuzzy, but it's not even the idea that it's hokey or oh look they're doing a bathroom joke. It's just can we get the show on the freaking road? I don't even know what else to say. I've said everything I could say about these segments for weeks and weeks. So yeah, it's just 2 lines this week. I really have nothing else to contribute. What about you?
I have literally nothing to contribute at this point. I just either do it or just pull the freaking plug, and I'll forgive you for it this time because it's not something I want to see in the first place.
Excellently said. Let's move on to something slightly less painful, I guess. Brie Bella versus Summer Rae. You know, this match ticked me off, Ashton. Again, not in a way. It's like, oh, heat in the night or nitpick, because I really try
Brie
and keep
Bella
those.
ticks me off in general. She's so awful.
Dude, what really ticked me off about this, and maybe this is just me being sensitive, which is weird because I was never really a full-blown Brian Mark to begin with. I hate how she is just blatantly milking that popularity for her own benefit. I'm sure in her mind, right, she sees it as a tribute, and that's fine, and I'm just the asshole, and I can accept that. But really, it's bad enough that you did the chest kicks. Now you win with the yes lock. Like, I don't know, man. That just really rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe I'm the only one, but I don't think Brie has the chops, really the talent to pull that off, and maybe that's just why I took it the way I did. I will say, though, despite the fact that plus the 50-50 booking that you noted as your nitpick rubbed me the wrong way, I personally thought Lana was great in her role. Both with how minimal she kept it on commentary and just sitting on the announce table, and then what she did after the match. I enjoyed Lana's presence here as a
It's
heel.
weird because I'm capable of both liking and disliking Lana at the exact same time because I feel like she has probably, I'm going to say tentatively that she might have more upside than any other female on the roster. She could be the next Trish Stratus.
Right, I agree.
But it also seems like she's also really, I guess the word to use in this case is unprofessional.
Right.
Because, like, I always kind of go back to, I feel like it was a night when Rusev got squashed or something. It was like right around the time that they had this whole angle with her and Summer and Rusev and Ziggler, and she went, or whoever it was, told TMZ about their engagement, and TMZ leaked the story and stuff, and WWE had to backtrack. She tweeted something out about Paige being like a bully in FCW or something like that.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, like that. You don't do that. Even here's the thing. I have a really hard time believing that it's true, because I feel like that was more probably kind of a situation where Paige just kind of was brought up in the wrestling business a way that Lana sees as bullying, and I don't think that that's really what it is. But even if it is true, you don't tweet that. What?
Yeah, I mean, really, the bad part about it is it's just poor conduct, for one, and two, you still work with this person. Like, you're talking, this is two people that are still actively involved with the company. You know, this isn't somebody that's retired or whatever, and maybe fans are really pressing the issue. I mean, nobody, to my knowledge, was really even asking about this, and she goes out of her way to throw Paige under the bus, you know? So I want to support Lana,
and
definitely.
I know, like, Paige even replied to her, like, stop trying so hard to get a storyline. You know, like, that was a weird situation, and that's kind of tainted my view of Lana ever since. But I mean, shit, man, she's clearly got a lot of talent. She's clearly doing the work on screen. I keep on hearing from frickin' Meltzer that there's heat on her backstage, but it's not really showing on TV right now.
Yeah, and again, she humiliates Brie with the Bella Buster, and again, she does it better than Brie does. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this. Really wish Summer would have won again here. I mean, not just because, again, the 50-50 booking, which is bad enough, but you and I were both so happy for Summer. Like, yeah, she's got a streak going. Oh, and ended on SmackDown. Of course it did. So, yeah, fine matchup, I guess, but mainly for Lana's heel work and, you know, her presence in this match. I thought it worked out really well. So, up next, we have the Chris Jericho promo where he explains his actions against AJ Styles. I don't want to speak for you, partner, but for me, this was definitely the highlight of SmackDown. I mean, just
Easily.
the best part of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, it's so weird that I'm saying this, because we are reviewing SmackDown now, so we are letting some credence, lending some credence to it. But I feel like this should have been a Raw segment. This is the kind of segment that you want the biggest crowd possible to see.
Yeah, this was the Chris Jericho I know you and I have been waiting for.
Yeah.
And I loved that, again, you know, he goes back to the line, I'm the best in the world at what I do, and he just comes off as so jaded, and, you know, he more or less says it himself, like, you guys chanted for AJ Styles over Chris Jericho, and you ruined everything. You guys and AJ, you ruined everything because you disrespected Chris Jericho. I am the best in the world at what I do, and I love this addition because I think I've only ever heard him say this part once before, because I do it all. You want me to be world champion? I do it. You want me to be in the opening match? I do it. Durability? I do it. I've never been injured. My body legit tensed up at that part. I'm not gonna lie. Given the crisis we have right now, I'm like, Jericho, you are spitting in the wind, brother. And he's like, yeah, never been injured. I love that he says, I've seen guys like AJ Styles come and go. You know, I hear it. Oh, Chris, this guy, he's going to be the next world champion. And what happens? They burn out in a couple months and you never hear from him again. And he says, AJ Styles, he's just going to be a flash in the pan. And then the best part of the segment to me, because I've really become, I think in large part thanks to Lucha Underground, I've become a huge sucker for imagery and atmosphere. Chris Jericho produces a Y2AJ t-shirt, pours some, I think like kerosene lighter fluid in a garbage can, produces a Y2AJ t-shirt, and he says, Y2AJ had the potential to be a great thing, but you ruined it. You and AJ Styles. And you know what? I'm partially responsible, too, for trusting him, for lowering myself to the level of that rookie. Yes, I said rookie, but no more. It's time for you to say goodbye to AJ Styles, because his career is just going to burn and fade away. And then he gets the lighter, lights the shirt on fire, it starts to burn, he drops the remnants of it in the garbage can to finish the process, and as the flames are rising from the garbage can, Jericho just goes, AJ Styles, AJ Styles, AJ Styles, like, you're just chanting. Great imagery, great freaking promo, and I gotta say, I wish that this wasn't their fourth matchup, because if this was like their first, or at the very least their second, like, I would be salivating for this match. Or even their third. I'll even say, yeah, even their third. I'd be salivating.
If this was the rubber match instead of the Fastlane match.
Exactly. If this was the rubber match, if these guys decided to bury the hatchet after one match each and say, wait, why are we fighting each other when we could be fighting everyone else? And then they just do everything that they did. Dude, this would be up there to contributing to a really strong WrestleMania card. This was solid work. And maybe I'm just being spoiled, turning my nose up simply because it's the fourth match. But you know, I do still have my problems, but man, this promo was fantastic. I almost hate myself for having those problems. This was great work.
Yeah, this promo was really good, and the imagery that you're referring to was so good. The camera was in just the right angle so that the fire and the flames were just kind of visible on the screen, but not so much that they would take anything away from Jericho himself, and the colors from the flames radiating off of Jericho. That image was so cool.
Yeah, they got this promo right. Yeah, and like you said, you made a great point too about the camera angles, because I feel like the way the flames really kind of illuminated Jericho's face while he's just kind of in that, I don't want to say trance, but he's just like chanting AJ Styles, and you get that weird vibe. Like, this is the Jericho I've been waiting for. This Jericho, I feel like, is almost close to scumbag Jericho after WrestleMania when he was still feuding with Punk. Like, I'm getting this really great vibe. I'm into it. I'm curious how AJ will retort. Hopefully that'll be on Raw, AJ's retaliation, because Roman certainly isn't going to be retaliating anytime soon, so we need some strong babyface to do some retaliating.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, this was great stuff, dude.
You know, it's so weird, because if they were going to bring Roman back, Monday would be the best place to do it, because Pittsburgh is easily the most generous crowd between now and WrestleMania.
Right.
Because the only other crowds that you've got, it's like Philly and Brooklyn, and I think that's it. I think then it's WrestleMania. So
yeah.
But yeah, another possibility is they might bring Roman back at Roadblock.
Yeah, you know, that might happen. I feel like I read something about his status today that he might not show up because he's still recovering from nasal surgery. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll be at Roadblock, maybe he won't be, but you know, that remains to be seen. I have a lot to say about Roman and that whole build-up.
Don't you love how basically anybody that the brass doesn't like, as soon as they get injured more than once over a 2 or 3 year period, they get the injury prone label? But Roman Reigns was out for like half of the year a couple of years ago, and now he's got a legit, which I honestly thought it was a work, but apparently it is a legit injury that he had to get surgery on to fix going up to WrestleMania, and they're still going to give him the title. He's not going to get that injury prone label. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, second WrestleMania main event, too. In a row, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. But as far as Y2AJ goes, I mean, there's still time. And you know what? This promo, I've softened up my stance a little bit on the match, but I still just can't get over it. It's our fourth matchup, but It's whatever. I enjoyed it. Do you have anything else you want to say about this promo?
I guess the promo was amazing, but I guess my whole thing as far as the match that they're building to is, I just can't imagine that they're going to one-up themselves unless they add some kind of crazy stipulation, unless they make it like an Iron Man match or an I Quit match or a street fight or something like that. And even then, AJ doesn't really fit with the gimmick matches, really. So maybe a ladder match, I guess. I don't know. It seems like if you want to one-up what they've already done, you need to up the ante.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, to do 4 straight matches with no stipulation,
and honestly,
especially when you're trying to...
I know that it looks right now like we're going to get a singles match between these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if the WWE just decided to add them to the Intercontinental title match.
That wouldn't surprise me either. But in a way, though, I don't know if that's worse or better, because on one hand, it's cool that AJ's competing for a championship, but his first WrestleMania, and he's a part of, a hodgepodge of other guys, in this big cluster of a match.
Well, he's either a hodgepodge in a bunch of guys, or he's getting the Fandango treatment, where his first WrestleMania is a Jericho match.
Oh, God, when you put it like that, Jesus. All right. Anything else you want to say, brother?
I don't think so. This was just easily the highlight of this show. Honestly, I would argue this is, I mean, if you don't watch SmackDown, this promo alone is worth finding and watching. It was that good.
I completely agree. That said, guys, let's move on. We have League of Nations as represented by Sheamus and Barrett versus the Lucha Dragons. We do know that Sheamus and Barrett will be getting a tag team title opportunity at Roadblock against Kofi Kingston and Big E. I thought this
Is
was
that
a
weird
fun...
to anyone else, or just like I thought that that's what they were building to for WrestleMania?
I agree. Yeah, it was weird to me too, dude, when they announced it for Roadblock, because I'm like, well, what's WrestleMania then?
Yeah, it's gonna be multi-team. They're gonna throw the Usos in there and probably the Dudleys, maybe the Lucha Dragons. No, it won't be the Lucha Dragons because of Kalisto, but you get the idea. It's gonna be a bunch of teams. Maybe even like Harper and Rowan will get tossed in. I doubt it though, because they haven't really done anything.
Yeah, I am so sorry, New Day, that you have been such an amazing act, and you've single-handedly not only been carrying the tag team division, but in some instances, full episodes of Monday Night Raw, and they're probably just going to be a part of a multi-team matchup. They could have been Enzo and Cass, people. It could have been Enzo and Cass, and it would have been magic. Guaranteed.
And now we're gonna get Enzo and Cass and the New Day on the same show, competing against not each other.
Exactly. If you wanted to kick us in the balls, you could at least take us out to dinner first. I'm just saying. So, yeah, you get this matchup. Not a bad match. I had fun with it. I thought Sin Cara's hot tag was especially fun, but ultimately he falls to Barrett's bullhammer elbow. It's actually nice to see Barrett getting a winning pin for his team for once.
Yeah, that
was
surprised me. I'm glad that he pinned Sin Cara too and not Kalisto.
Well, see, I actually made an interesting note about that. I thought this was the right call for two reasons. One, I just mentioned the Roadblock matchup that the League of Nations are having, so obviously you want to give them momentum to make them seem like a credible threat to the New Day's title reign. Secondly, they made sure to note that Ryback was watching this match, and seeing Sin Cara eat the pin kind of reinforces what he told Kalisto on Raw, cut your losses, be a solo Lucha Dragon. So I like that. I thought that was good stuff. But yeah, really nothing else to say about this match.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, moving on, we go right to, speaking of the big guy, we have a Ryback interview. JoJo asks him what his thoughts were.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but Ryback is becoming my favorite.
Dude, this is the second time now that he's gone heel that I've loved it, but here's the thing. I don't want to love it because I know I'm going to be disappointed, and not by Ryback, but by the people behind Ryback.
No, I don't even know if it's, I mean, he's clearly more aggressive, but I don't even know if it's safe to call him heel. He's just so indecisive, and I love it.
It works.
His promos, I haven't laughed this hard at a non-New Day WWE segment in months.
Yeah.
Ryback gets up here and he's just like, you saw what happened out there. Good small guys fall to good big guys every time. And then he takes a minute and thinks about it and he's just like, but I don't want to take anything away from the Lucha Dragons. Those guys are both incredible athletes. And then he thinks about it a little more. But they're also at a genetic disadvantage. It's just like he's so indecisive. I think indecisive Ryback is my new favorite thing.
I agree with you with the word indecisive, but maybe this is just like honesty. Yeah, I respect these guys, and I will say this, I couldn't make heads or tails of this promo, how I felt about it, but what I did like was the closing line. From a genetic and physical, I'm not even going to try and do the Ryback impersonation because you killed it. From a genetic and physical standpoint, not all men are created equal. And I even put in my
Steiner math.
How those two,
Joe, and you look at me, and you can clearly see that not all men are created equal.
I love that man so much. So much. And the idea that him and Ryback will never be a team is a travesty against the universe.
Dude, we're accumulating Steiner people now. We just need a faction of Ryback, Baron Corbin, Cage, and Scott Steiner himself as the manager.
Oh my god, yeah. The legion of Steiners, man. It's growing like a back mole. It's It's really unbelievable.
It's called Steiner Mania, Mark.
But yeah, Ryback, I even put in my notes, he's the perfect WrestleMania opponent for Kalisto. You and I have been saying it for a while.
Dude, I love too that like the one random episode of SmackDown that we did manage to watch before we started reviewing them was a part of that Survivor Series tournament, and Ryback and Kalisto put on a phenomenal match. And now it's like the WWE saw that and they're like, oh my god, okay, these guys can't touch for 5 months. They're gonna get a WrestleMania match. I think that's so cool.
And I wonder what fans think, and I'm not saying I'm one of them because I'm happy for Kalisto. More importantly, I'm happy for Ryback in the U.S. Championship. But these guys get the one-on-one match, and the Intercontinental title held by Sami Zayn and then involves, or held by Kevin Owens and involves Sami Zayn and Neville. Like, that's the multi-man match. Like, I think a lot of people are just like, what happened here? But yeah, this is going to be a great WrestleMania match to me. Ryback, again, whether it's Bully back or whatever you even want to call this heel Ryback, he's great. And you know, the funny thing is, he's not bad as a babyface, but I'm convinced now that we've seen this for a second time, he's just better as a heel. You know, I just prefer him that way. It's
like
a great time to be a heel right now.
In that sense.
Exactly. Like, passable as a face, sure, but as a heel, I mean, that's the bread and butter right there. After this, it's funny because we go from one interview to another because, you know, after this Ryback interview, we go to the Usos, Dean Ambrose, and Dolph Ziggler interview with Renee. You know, it's funny, Ashton, because this wasn't bad, but again, I just felt like the main event as a whole, which we'll get to here in a second, was pretty meh. I mean, you have the Usos talking about how they grew up admiring the Dudleys, but as grown men, they have no respect for them whatsoever. And, you know, they did that so the feud stays fresh in our mind.
Can I say that felt very heelish to say? Like, you're just straight up saying we don't have any respect for this other tag team that's such a legend that they were doing great things when we were 10 years old, but no, we don't have respect for them. Like, that's such a heel thing to say.
Like, that sounds like something like a cocky legend killer Randy Orton would say. Like, yeah.
Like, where do the Usos get off cutting heel promos, talking about how they don't respect the Dudley Boys when they're supposed to be these, like, honorable baby faces? I don't know, man. I think, you know, it's possible that this is just me looking for reasons to talk about how horrible the Usos are because I have just a natural dislike of them. But still, I don't think that if anyone else did this and it was a babyface team and they said something like that, I don't know. Maybe Enzo and Cass have done something like this before and I let him slip, but I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I was kind of, because I don't disagree with you, right? It's just funny when even the Usos try and be baby, like even when they really try, they still fail and look like scumbags. Dolph, you know, references.
How was this trying?
Well, I guess you're right, but I think they tried to parallel, like, oh, we grew up watching the Dudleys and we respected them because they were cool, you know, they did the tables, and now, what they are now, what they've become, as opposed to, you know, what they were when we were watching them as kids, like, how can we respect that? So I think they're just trying to say, you know, Dudleys have lost their way, and now they've disrespected the Usos, and they've just got no respect for them in kind. So
because
I get
that doesn't feel cultish at all.
I do appreciate, though, they were trying to keep the feud fresh in our minds, even though I just don't want any part of it, because, again, why do the Usos need to even feud with the Dudleys in the first place? But I digress. Dolph says, you know, with his interactions with the League of Nations on Monday and Stephanie, that he's a fighter and he'll be a fighter until the very end, regardless of whether he has issues with the Authority or not. And then Ambrose comes in and says, well, hey, you know, tonight it's not about the Authority, it's about hunting them Wyatt boys. So, you know, and then they're just like, you ready? You ready? And they hype themselves up for our main event, which was Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, and the Usos versus the Wyatt family. You know, Ashton, like, I have my notes and I want to give my thoughts, but I also want to give a shout out to our friend Gordon, who also gave his thoughts to me on Facebook. He said this match actually legitimately ticked him off. In fact, I'm sure if he was using the TWitWoW model, this match probably would have been a heat of the night, because he really didn't understand the point to it all. Like, the Usos have no relation to the Wyatt family because they're busy with the Dudleys. They even say so in the preceding promo. Dolph Ziggler isn't connected to the Wyatts in any way. And Dean Ambrose only has a slight connection to the Wyatts because, you know, this past Monday and all that other stuff. He just didn't understand how any of this helped to promote Roadblock. And this is like the main event of SmackDown. He just felt it was filler.
Am I allowed to say it?
Sure.
It's the Authority punishing Ambrose and Ziggler and the Usos.
So, again, though, with the Wyatt family working with the Authority, you think?
Yeah, that's the only way that things work.
Oh man, you know what though? I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one because that would be the only way I could make sense of this match. I totally got where Gordon was coming from. However, can I say, and I made sure to put this in my notes, it feels like a while since I have praised Luke Harper. I don't know what it was
Dude,
about this match, but
dude, you're stealing my spotlight. I'm telling you, I was literally gonna say Luke Harper is amazing. We need to talk more about how great he is. Ah,
that's amazing that you and I had ESPN like that because I
yeah,
don't know what
yeah.
it was.
We are straight up connected by the freaking frontal lobe.
Yeah, because I don't know what it was about this match, but I think seeing him bump and like be on offense, I'm like, Luke Harper is so good.
He
Like,
really is.
I just, and it's funny because,
Is it?
well, I was gonna say it's funny because I know I love Brave, and despite my frustration, I think I'm just more frustrated that there's just nothing legitimate going on about it. And then you have to touch the title and get me excited, and fuck you people. But Luke Harper, I do think really is the best of the pack. Like, I think he is a guy that did I even put here? Because if I didn't, I'll just say it here. I feel like he is one of those guys that will go down as just being so underappreciated. Because I don't know if
Might
any
just be the Jake Roberts of our generation.
he might just be, dude. Because he lives in an era of, well, at least WWE's trying to create people of that type. But,
Or you
he
know
lives
what?
in his
Maybe a
own
more
personal era.
apropos comparison would be not Jake Roberts, Jimmy Snuka. Maybe because I mean obviously they're not the same alignment. Jimmy Snuka was always a babyface, and no, I also misspoke. Not Jimmy Snuka, Ricky Steamboat.
Ricky,
I think
okay.
Luke Harper might be a modern day Ricky Steamboat because, like, the thing with Jake the Snake, I feel like Bray is more apropos to compare to Jake the Snake because they're both these talkers, they're both good in the ring, and yet neither one of them seems to have any interest in titles. But Harper, I think, compares more favorably to Steamboat because they're both so underrated, they're both so good in the ring, and they're both Intercontinental champions, or at least former Intercontinental champions.
Yeah, dude. Harper to me is really getting to that point where I do believe, at least in my own mind, this guy's criminally underrated in a sense. Because, and that's another fault I have with the Wyatt family. You look at how good a guy like Luke Harper is, and you just think to yourself, like, why isn't this faction doing anything on there? Like, why does it always come back to Bray in some way? You know what I mean?
I'm
Like, I
telling you,
would,
man, literally all it would take is a weird mood from Vince McMahon one day, and the Wyatt family would be the most dominant faction in history.
yeah, and you know what? This may sound weird, but again, this is our space, I guess, to say whatever we want, because you just said earlier, like, can I say it? So, I don't know what it was about this match, just reminding myself how good Luke Harper is. I realize that I really want to see some matches between Luke Harper and Randy Orton for some reason. I don't know why. I just want to see it. I just want to see Luke Harper work more with higher caliber opponents that aren't tethered to Bray Wyatt in any way. I want
Yeah.
to see this guy do his own thing, but that's not necessarily to mean severed from the family. We talked about, and again, that big commentary, which I'm plugging it so much. Man, that was a good commentary. About factions doing their own thing. We talked
Dude,
about evolution.
I'm so glad we did that too, because now anytime we feel ourselves getting all like hot and bothered talking about how something the WWE's doing that's stupid, if it relates back to that, we can just be like, you know what? I'm gonna take a step back. Okay, guys, go watch that commentary and you'll know exactly what I'm about to rant about. Let's move
Exactly. Yeah,
on.
because like we even talked about factions in that commentary and we said
Yeah.
evolution, Orton going after the Intercontinental title, Batista going after Shawn
Yes.
Michaels. Why can't Luke Harper target a Randy Orton one day? I mean, again, just pushing that personal view, but it
I'm
doesn't even
telling
have to
you,
be that.
I want a Wyatt family dynasty. I want the Wyatt family to just say, like, the last 3 years, we've really just been all about causing chaos and kind of ruining people's lives. And for a while, we got caught up in that thing where the authority had us under their control. And now, we've been letting you guys kind of slide for a really long time. I think we're going to actually try and win titles now. And they just go on a roll and win. And like Luke Harper becomes the dual Intercontinental and US champion. Bray
Yes.
wins the world title. And then Rowan and Strowman win the tag titles. And they just run the entire show. They're on the entire card from top to bottom. And they destroy everyone. And you could literally just give them a run like you gave frickin' Evolution in the early 2000s, where they're just at the top for years, not even months, years. And I don't think I would even get sick of it, depending on how well it was done. Because, like, if you're going to throw them against, like, Kane and the Big Show, yeah, you could bugger off. But if you're going to use legitimate talents like Owens and Ambrose and Neville and Zayn and even, like, Styles and Freaking, I guess Ziggler could be in there. Like, there are so many talents that you could use. And I mean, even if you want to look at the top of the card, Roman Reigns, I am not a big fan of, but you put him against a guy like Luke Harper, and I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, to me, could make so many viable contributions to the mid-card to upper mid-card level. I don't understand. Like, I get, in a way, why it all comes back to Bray because he is the leader, but this faction really should be one that sees people pursuing their own individual or collective efforts. I mean, to your point about Eric Rowan and Strowman potentially gunning for the tag titles. And Luke Harper, to me, I mean, he had that one Intercontinental title reign, which I popped for at the time when he won it, because I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. You know, Luke Harper's got the IC title. That reign was forgettable. But I would love if, like, one night just out of nowhere he attacked Kalisto or something. I mean, really brutalized him and wanted a shot at the U.S. title or just something. Because, like, this guy is so good. It's a crime, man.
You know what, though? That's kind of what I'm saying, though, is, like, if the Wyatt family would just decide to actually try and win titles, from a kayfabe standpoint, it seems like it would be super easy for them to do that.
Yeah, dude, I could just picture them. Like, it doesn't even have to be on TV. They could be back at their swamp, and Bray could just be like, yeah, guys, you know, it's time. I really want to be a champion now. You guys? Oh, yeah, totally. I miss being Intercontinental Champion. Yeah, and we'd like the tag titles. And they do it. Who's going to tell them no? And be like, yeah, those title reigns you all had, yeah, it was simply borrowed time. That's all it was.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah. Congratulations on your however many months, because you're never getting this title back again. I just want you to know that.
I could just picture Bray smiling at the guy that's world champion, and oh my god, if it was Reigns, the crowd would go crazy. Congratulations, Roman Reigns, you're the greatest belt warmer in WWE history.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, just us
now you got me all worked up. Now I want Bray to win Money in the Bank this year.
Well, you know what, dude? Screw you too, because you got me excited about the Wyatt family. Like, it's so easy to get excited about these guys when you know the talent involved, and I think you pegged Strowman and Rowan perfectly, especially Rowan, because we don't really know the true depth of Strowman yet. But put him in the tag division, you know, have him work with somebody else so he doesn't have to have all the ring time. So again,
yeah, I feel like Strowman and Rowan would be like a modern day Big Show and Undertaker team, like the Twin Towers.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so fucking easy to make these guys compelling, and yet WWE doesn't do it. Why? Because you fucking hate me. So yeah, I mean, babyfaces get the win.
Because Vince clearly doesn't see money in them, otherwise he would have already.
Well, then why did you even bring him up from NXT? They could at least still be. Can you imagine Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor? Am I the only one who thinks that sounds badass? Especially NXT Bray Wyatt? I mean, come on now. Yeah. I don't freaking know. Anyway,
I'm still waiting for Bray and the family to follow through on their whole bring down the machine speech.
Yeah, please. Like, and then that's really the thing. I know I said it on Pleetov in a lengthy post a couple months ago, but like, that's the only thing I feel like is left for Bray to do, because you've exhausted any interest I've had in him being heel for the moment and working with the people he worked with. Turn him face and have that touching of the damn championship by Triple H be something more. Be like, no, you're not going to be champion. Why? Because I'm going to be champion. God, so easy. Why do you do this to me? But yeah, Ambrose, he pins Eric Rowan after Dirty Deeds. Does anybody care? You know, they won against the Wyatts.
Our 5 to 10 minute conversation we just had was more compelling than the match.
Yeah, it really was. You're not wrong. So that was the main event, guys. And I mean, Ashton, do you have anything you want to say about it before we move on to our next segment?
Why does the Wyatt family... Never mind. It's not even worth it. Just go.
And it's not right, because you just feel the pain when you start to ask. Because that's my life. Anyway,
it's funny you say that, because I was literally wincing while saying it. So
I know. Yeah. I feel you, brother. I know a guy. It's horrible. All right.
Can you introduce me?
Absolutely, because if we have to keep talking about how good the Wyatts can be, like, there isn't a calculator that could properly produce the number of ulcers I'm going to have doing it, and just my hatred for Vince McMahon so much, and Kevin Dunn. Fuck you, too. So,
the fact that said... makes more than Vince.
I know, my God. Next segment, high spots and low shots. I'd want to give my low shot to Golden Truth so bad for existing, but that's not really a legitimate contribution, so my low shot is Summer Rae, because she lost and her streak ended.
Dang it.
Well, dude, I'm sorry, man. Like, rough night.
All
Rough
right,
night.
Milo shots the Miz because he got, like I said earlier, his life was just wrecked by Sami Zayn, and then Sami pinned him, so even further, just insult to injury.
Verbally castrated and physically humiliated. Yeah, I said that'd be
Yeah.
a rough night for the Miz. Um, Honorary high spot, Mauro Ranallo. His use of the word apoplectic makes him a man after my own heart. So,
Why? Why am I not surprised? I am not even kidding you when I say, when he said that, my mom said, "What the hell did he just say? I don't even know what that means." And I'm just sitting here thinking, I bet John could tell us what it means.
and you know what though? I couldn't because I had to Google it, which makes him even more a man after my own heart because he taught me something. So, yeah,
That's too good.
honorary high spot, easily Mauro Ranallo because higher literary terms or higher verbiage, if you will. I mean, that's cool. So,
Oh
that's my
God.
honorary high spot. And my high spot, clear as day, Chris Jericho. Had a phenomenal promo, killed it on the microphone, was the most interesting thing on this show by far, save for Miz TV, which admittedly was a lot of fun.
I don't know.
And yeah, I enjoyed this.
Well, I'm going to keep the ball rolling because my high spot also belongs to someone that only cut a promo and wasn't in a match.
Say it.
Ryback!
Yeah. Yeah.
I freaking love his new shtick. I don't
It's
know if you
so
want to
good.
call it indecisive or if you want to call it honest. I think you called it whatever you. I see it as indecisive. I think
Right.
it's like bad joke Cesaro, bad news Barrett, indecisive Ryback. He just can't make up his mind whether he likes someone or if he doesn't. And I am perfectly okay with that because his promos are hilarious to me now.
Yeah, the biggest problem I have with this really lies within myself because now I'm going to have to debate who's better, bully back or indecisive back. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, on the one hand, you have turn on the water, and now on the other hand, you have I respect you, but you're a little guy, and genetically, you're always going to lose to a big guy. Like, I don't know, man. It's tough. But yeah, I love your high spot, definitely. Ryback is doing great work. I'd really like to see it culminate in something. WrestleMania match with Kalisto is a nice start.
Yeah,
Nice
dude,
start.
if it wasn't for the fact that I know he would lose the feud yet again, I almost want Ryback to feud with John Cena, if for no other reason because those promos would be hilarious.
I don't even think John Cena would know how to retort. Like,
Yeah, because Ryback would just be like, John, you're one of the most talented guys ever to be in this business, but you still suck. And you need to realize that half the crowd really loves you, but the other crowd thinks you suck.
yes.
And you bring a lot of eyes to the television, but you're also the reason a lot of people stopped watching. Like, he could just keep on. Like, there are like 10 different things that you can look at on both sides for Cena, and Ryback is the perfect person to illustrate them.
And then Cena would return. Thank you.
I think
I think.
he would
So
probably have some quick-witted response like, "Oh, Ryback's about as indecisive as insert reference here."
dude, WWE should make a hype video package just of that promo exchange. And then, like, they have the dramatic music. Thank you. And then, dun, dun, and then just, like, the music builds up. I think. And then just ends. Like.
Oh my god.
The hatred is real, I
Or
think.
is it?
This Sunday in WWE Ambiguity.
Yeah! Ryback shell shocks John Cena and then checks to see if he's okay.
Oh my god, that buy rate though. Oh god. Alright. Moving on to the last segment of my
Watch as
insights.
Ryback connects with the meat hook and then cooks some meat for supper for John Cena.
Oh my god. I can picture that dinner too. You really robbed me with that meat hook, but damn if this meat isn't good.
I know. I'm sorry, but I hate you.
Oh man. And then Curtis Axel brings the potato salad because obviously.
And of course the cold beer, because what kind of coward drinks warm beer?
Exactly. All right, guys. If I can survive it, we still have one more segment. 30-second hot seat. I'm not going to make any pretense of being confident this week. Just give me whatever you have and we'll all hope for the best, huh?
Yeah, what's your opinion on Schrodinger's cat?
Actually, I've always found it to be one of the more interesting problems of quantum physics. You know? Yeah. Yeah, that is my answer. Yeah! But anyway, what's your legitimate 30-second hot seat?
I was trying to stick with the indecisive theme.
I see what you. Oh my god, that's genius. You're a funny guy.
You know what, dude? I think this is gonna be just a, toss it out there and let you knock it out of the park because I can't think of anything more difficult. What do you think the tag team championship match is going to be at WrestleMania? Since we're getting the New Day versus the League of Nations at Roadblock, what do you think is going to be the tag title match at Mania? You have 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
I actually, as lame as it is, because again, it should be Enzo and Cass, and yes, I'm fully aware I'm eating up my time saying that. I do agree with the rumor mill and what it produced. It's probably going to be New Day versus the League of Nations again, but in a 3-on-3 matchup with Freebird rules. So that's what I think the WrestleMania match is going to be.
Who are going to be the three representatives for LON?
Oh, that's a good question because there are 4 guys, aren't there? I'd say
Your
Barrett,
30 seconds are up. No, but seriously, they'll continue.
Barrett, Sheamus, and the WWE, apparently, if those rumors were true, they paid Del Rio a shit ton of money. So, fuck, he isn't going to be at WrestleMania, so put Del Rio in there, too.
Rusev gets the snub.
Rusev gets the snub. Well, he'll probably be busy managing Lana in that multi-women match and being by her side, because they love each other so much and all that crap.
R2 just to make up for it, so he's on the show.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, that actually brings up something that I wanted us to talk about, even if only briefly. Meltzer answered a fan because a fan asked a question about what percent of the WWE's profit goes to the talent, because it was something like 70 or 60% of the Premier League's income goes to their talent, and for the NFL, and I think it was the NBA or maybe even the MLB, it was between 40 and 50%. Can you guess what the answer was for the WWE?
25%?
15%.
Holy shit, that's paltry.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Wow. Wow.
It's a scummy business, man.
Dude, where does the other 85% go? Is it just distributed between the higher ups? I
would imagine it's distributed between the higher ups, and it probably goes into production, and I don't know. I honestly, I don't even want to try and speculate because I'm going to just come off as ignorant, but yeah, it's pretty bad.
God,
what do you need? I understand production, and the worst part is production value has gone nothing but down since 2006.
Right.
They don't have any, they don't change their sets anymore for pay-per-views, really, other than just adding random pieces of furniture out around the ring for gimmick matches. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's bad though. I feel yeah, it's a problem.
I mean, it's insulting, really, is what it is.
Well, and I think that it really does come down to the lack of a union, because I know for a fact that the NFL has a players union where they are able to kind of fight for better salaries and stuff. But even still, you look at an NFL player and yeah, no doubt they put their bodies on the line and stuff, but they put their bodies on the line for 5 months a year, whereas WWE performers put their bodies on the line 12 months a year.
Exactly.
And even middle of the road NFL players, a backup quarterback right now is making $5 to $7 million a year, whereas that's more than what even John Cena makes in a year.
God damn, man.
Yeah, yeah, not even joking. The Atlanta Falcons, actually, since I'm more intimately familiar with our player contracts, we just recently signed a backup defensive lineman 2 years, $9 million, $4.5 million a year, and he's a backup at a position that isn't necessarily super high on like the importance list, and he still probably makes more than John Cena. And Cena's the guy. Like, you look at Cena, he's the guy for the WWE. So, like, I guess for the NFL, that would be like Aaron Rodgers or like Peyton Manning. And those guys make well, I guess Peyton Manning's retired now, so I guess it would be Rodgers. And I think Rodgers' contract number is like $22 million a year ish.
Right.
So, like, yeah, it's pretty crazy when you think about how much NFL players, you know, how many months and the crazy thing too with them is they work, I mean, granted it's a 3-hour game, but they only work 16 games a year, whereas wrestlers will wrestle like 300 matches in a year.
Exactly. Just crazy to think about, dude. And, you know, it's funny because I was even wondering to myself today, I was like, you know, if we lived in a society where money really wasn't like an issue, I wonder where wrestlers would go to ply their craft. Because I've been thinking a lot today about like the amazingness of Lucha Underground and promotions like PWG. And I'm like, I wonder how many people really would go to WWE. Because you think about the people in NXT, they obviously want to go up because it's an increase in pay.
Right.
And yet, even then, though, when you put all that in perspective, it's not like WWE is making all your dreams come true. It's not like when you get that WWE contract, it's like, oh, you're financially secure for life. Because when you look at numbers like that, I mean, damn, man.
Yeah, like Apollo Crews would have been better off in football.
Yeah. I mean, really, he would have been.
Roman Reigns would have been better off in football. Like, even if Roman Reigns goes on to be the man in the WWE, the top guy, which, I mean, obviously they want him to, but I don't think that he's ever actually going to reach that point. But even if he does, he's going to be making like $1.5 to $2 million a year, and he is going to have literally no days off. You look at John Cena, I wouldn't wish that schedule on my worst enemy. And that's basically the schedule that Roman Reigns aspires to work. And in the meantime, if Roman Reigns would have just gone to the NFL and gotten like a job as like a backup or even like a third string defensive tackle, the vet minimum in the NFL, meaning literally the lowest amount of money that you can sign a player for, is somewhere in like the $450,000 to $500,000 range.
Yeah, that's disgusting to me.
Yeah, that's how much Dolph Ziggler gets paid. Like,
yeah, like, holy shit. Dude, you know, moments like that are very sobering because you realize like they do all that stuff, as you said, 300 days a year. They're on the road so many weeks away from their families, and sometimes you really have to ask, like, what do I have to show for it? Because if wrestlers, again, if they really wanted to do it because of the love of the game, so to speak, that just makes me wish even more that we lived in a society where money wasn't the problem. Because I guarantee you, I'd be willing to bet that some performers probably wish they could stay in like a PWG or an ROH or wherever if the pay was just suitable. You know, if the pay meant their needs. Pro wrestling, man, it's a rough business, but especially WWE, because when you report figures like that, there's no excuse for that. Yeah. None. Well, you know, I really don't even have anything to say after that. Do you have anything you want to add?
I guess not. I didn't mean to bring the mood down like I just did, but
no, it's not, dude. It's because
I wanted to bring that up because it was just a piece of news that I saw earlier today, and that just blew my mind. Like,
dude, yeah, like I obviously don't blame you. I mean, the mood obviously is going to go down, but that's because that's life. I mean, you're talking about reality there. That is a hard, cold piece of reality, and it needs to be addressed. I'd rather it be addressed, and we mull it over, and we reflect on it, and we reflect on the nature of WWE as a business than just, you know, end on a high note completely ignorant of their practices. Because the idea that Kevin Dunn makes more money than Vince and those figures were released,
Kevin Dunn makes more money than John Cena.
Which is retarded. Just absolutely stupid. I just, how do you even reconcile that, dude?
Kevin Dunn makes more money than Brock Lesnar. Probably works more dates than Brock too.
And you can, and people can say what they want about Brock Lesnar, but you know what? And you know what? Let me say something about Brock Lesnar soon. I'm sorry for prolonging this discussion because I feel like we probably exhausted all we could say. But let me just add this: I know sometimes people take issue with Brock Lesnar. Things like what you just told me are exactly why I never have, because Brock at least was smart enough to know his value and know exactly what he was asking for. And you gotta protect yourself. Now, sometimes you don't have that luxury because your name isn't as prestigious as that of Brock Lesnar.
Right.
I understand that. So Brock definitely has that privilege because, well, I'm Brock Lesnar. I've done it all. You look at me. I am an attraction. It's not like, say, a Kofi Kingston, for as good as he is with the New Day right now, can go in and be like, well, I'm Kofi Kingston. I demand this kind of contract. But there's gotta be a way. And see, I've wanted a wrestlers union for years.
Yeah.
But there has gotta be a way for them to protect themselves. I mean, is there any other
Literally,
viable?
the only way that a union would work is if Cena was in on it, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, which is a
Because he
shame.
benefits
too.
more. He benefits more from not having a union.
Right. Right.
You know, or let me rephrase that. He, as far as he's concerned, it's almost like the prisoner's dilemma, really. As far as he's concerned, he benefits more from not having a union. But realistically, if there was a union, prices or salaries across the board would have to go up. It wouldn't just be, the lower tier guys getting paid more and Cena staying the same. Everyone's salaries would have to go up because it would almost have to be based on percentages,
Right.
So
Yeah, guys, I mean, you know what? Because the 30-second hot seat was what it was, I want our commenters to get in on this conversation. I mean, for me personally, what are your thoughts on this revelation, guys? That, again, 15% of the profits goes to the talents, leaving the remaining 85%, as far as we know, unallocated, or we have a pretty good idea where it goes. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Because to me, that's a touchy subject. You're talking about livelihoods here. It's not like they just do it because, oh, I've always wanted to be a professional wrestler. Sure, that's a driving motivation, but that's what they chose to put bread on the table. And it turns out WWE is just skimming a little off the top and is just so charitable as to give it to the talents. Give me a freaking break. But yeah, this has been Smackdown. This has been TWitWoW. The best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Again, for me personally, I would love to know what you guys think of that piece of news that Ashton delivered from the Wrestling Observer, the idea that talents only get 15% of profits. What are your thoughts on that? Be sure to take the conversation over to Pwitoff. That is, Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, my friend Anthony, he broke the news on Pwitoff about Kevin Dunn being the highest paid employee. So, they are into things like that. Also, be sure to like and share and interact with content on the TWitWoW Facebook page. However, if Facebook isn't your medium of choice, we also have a TWitWoW subreddit. There you will find all of our TWitWoW content, and members of that subreddit can post wrestling threads of their own on all things related to pro wrestling, everything from Raw to SmackDown to Lucha Underground to New Japan, anything your heart desires, you can post it there. And if you want to interact with us on the most intimate level, we're both on Twitter. I am at John_TWitWoW. Ashton is at apond404. That is the letter A, pond, the body of water, POND 404. And we will see you again, potentially, depending on how the voting goes, for Roadblock preview and predictions tomorrow. And if not, if you guys wanted us to do just live reactions, we will be doing that Saturday. So be on the lookout. The TWitWoW content is still coming. And until then, tune in and peace out.